Hello everybody, I'm in an area where there are a larger variety of trees, deciduous as well as the pine and broadleaf trees as well. So this is on the far side of the forest. I don't usually find much evidence of the families in this area, but you can look up behind me and see that. You just can't unsee this stuff. And I've been thinking about the subject for quite some period of time, and you've been out with me for the past 3 years when we've come to look at the area and study what's round about and see if we can come to any kind of conclusions. I'm just going to pause here and see if I can focus on this up ahead. So we've all come to similar conclusions, and I believe that there is a crossover. There's a crossover between those that ghost hunt. See that massive arch? There's another one right down there as well. But between, so one, let's go back to that. There's one here. One. This big one in front of me, 2, and then one in the distance. Can you see that right at the back there? 3 arches that I can see. So we all share similar things. There is a crossover. Those that ghost hunt, they certainly find similarities in picking up EVPs, this interdimensional stuff, and imagery. They pick up similar stuff. Those people who study aliens, UAPs, there's a crossover there. They have connections, communications, imagery, and there's so there are 2 groups that have a crossover, and I'm wondering what the connections are in this. I believe there are connections here. Just as a point of interest, there is huge logging in that direction over there, so we might get these big tractor things that strip the trees, or some big log trucks come down. We might see those. Just be warned. Now we have looked solidly at Bigfoot. I had wandered off subject, as it were, with the Betty and Barney story, but I do think, I'm going to say this, I do think that these are all connected. They're not totally abstract from each other. So I think with the information that we have now, I want to re-look at some of this subject. This area is full of arches. I don't know if you've noticed this. There's another one up here. There are 3 in that area, the bottom. I can can see another 2 from here, which I'll make my way toward. So I'm going to ask Athenian for a little help here, if I may. And Athenian, my question are the tree glyphs. All the tree glyphs we see. How are they made? Are they physically lifted? She's saying yes, they are. See, what I was also going to add on was, are they moved by sound? We know that sound was used to help build things like the Egyptian pyramids, the Mayan temples, apparently not Stonehenge. That was sheer brute force, that was. So hands physically move these. Is it all your family, Athenian, who do this? So she's saying we get assistance from all sorts of beings, because some of these glyphs are multi-purpose, multi-energetic use. So for different beings, is that correct? Different energies to use, they would use them. Okay. All right. So how are they moved? Okay. Right, so what she's saying is one person gets on one end and another on the other end, and they lift them. Oh, I love that. I've asked a direct question and I've got a direct answer. Do they use sonics? Do they use sound? Sometimes, but not where I am. Is this a sound used for really big, ginormous twists? The ones, say, in Colorado that look like helix, the helix shape, sound used in creating those? Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. She's saying yes. Is kinetic energy used at all? Sometimes. Though not in these forests here. So not in the UK. Well, she's saying not in these forests here. So they could be used in the UK some places. Sasquatch, Bigfoot. Do they have connections? Do they share energy and connections, space, communications with other beings? They do, they absolutely do. In the terms of other beings, like other energetic beings. Yes. So I had a similar answer when I asked Ahachida this very same question 3 years ago. I asked then if they had communications, and at that time I understood that Ahachida was like a chairwoman. She would call, or chair, if you like, in our terms, a gathering of beings, and they would discuss whatever it was they needed to discuss. That's quite interesting, isn't it? Not what you expect. That's about the 4th or the 5th that I've seen. I'm going to meet the logging trail up here, and I know they're working about half a mile, maybe a mile, say, in the direction that the camera is pointed. So it wouldn't surprise me if a great big truck came out. Now I know that Bigfoot, and for that matter off-planet energies, show up literally over eons, over centuries. They appear, and I'm thinking particularly another arch down there. See if I can focus on that. See that? So I'm thinking particularly of ancient civilizations, say like the Aztecs, the Egyptians, the Aboriginals of Australia, Malaysia, and the Native Americans, the Indians. And on all of their petroglyphs you'll find a reference to things coming in from the sky, as in aircraft of some kind, aerial craft of some kind. And these are sometimes, these drawings are anything between 30 to 60,000 years old. They're like hieroglyphs in Egypt and petroglyphs with when they're using the paint. They're not carved, they're using paint. They also have the sign of a big foot, so something leaving a big footprint. If it features in ancient civilizations, they've remembered stuff, or they know stuff that has been forgotten, and we're rediscovering it. So if we go down that route regarding just a basic thing like concrete, the Egyptians and the ancient Chinese knew all about concrete, and then it was all forgotten about and rediscovered thousands, 2,000 years later, 3,000 years later. Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, and something else that came to light in a video I'd watched recently, the Bradshaw's farm, the Bradshaw's Ranch, Sedona, Arizona. Oh, that'll be very familiar to a lot of you because you'll know all about that. It's really, really interesting. I watched a video by, it was about and centered around the discoveries and thoughts of a man who produced the evidence, he absolutely did, called Hoodoo Tall. So you'll know him. I'm sure he's very familiar to you. If he isn't, check him out. There's a video by a guy called, I think his name is Daniel Bartlett, he's the videographer, but the channel is called Undisputed Media. Undisputed Media Visuals. So it's really, really worth looking at. It's a long video, but it's worth looking at, because everything that Hoodoo Tall is explaining in there, many of us who study the different things, whether it's Bigfoot or whether it's alien stuff or whether it's ghost hunters, experience the same thing. And this is exactly what he was trying to say. And I've said for a long time that there is crossover here. There is absolutely a crossover. There is a connection. And I know people think, oh no, not aliens. Oh God, not interested in aliens. I think you best had be, because I think you're going to find that this is all absolutely well and truly connected. Likewise with, I'm going to sit myself down here. This is a nice little stool. What do you think of that? It looks like it was made there for me. So this guy, Hoodoo Tall, is talking about all these different subjects. And he says there is a link between them. And I think he's absolutely right. I've already found that I think that there's something with UAPs, off-planet stuff, and on-planet stuff. There's some link. There certainly seems to be a link between Bigfoot and off-planet energy. And we might not want to accept it, but it's there in the evidence that people who are truly searching for it, looking for it, want the answers. They find this stuff. They cannot avoid it. Those people who just want to go out and find somebody big and hairy might be very surprised at what they actually do find. So on these farms, on these ranches, on Skinwalker and on Bradshaw's ranch, they have found evidence where many witnesses, many, not just the odd one, many witnesses say they have seen giant orbs at dusk or at night time, and they've watched these orbs come down to the ground, land, and out steps Bigfoot. Now it draws you into the like, what the heck type of thing. I'm sure you'll use another word. But these people probably don't know each other, so why are they coming out with the same story? It must be the same pattern. And I believe that there is same patterns, crossover all the time in all subjects. They've also had where people have said the backdrop, the background that they're seeing, they don't believe is real. They think it's simulated, although it looks real and it's what should be there. There's bits added to it or removed, or they seem like they're stepping back in time. People appear in their photographs that weren't actually at whatever they were photographing. So there's some belief that there is like a dimensional opening, portal, whatever, a dimensional opening, and out steps whatever being. Likewise with the orbs, and we hear so much in the conversations that we have with Bigfoot where they talk about the orb and the orb path. And a lot of us may be just thinking what they're talking about, don't know, no idea, and you switch off, but you should be listening. That's how they travel. And I don't think that they can physically fly from the United Kingdom across the United States of America, but they travel by thought, by the orb, orbitally rearrange, forgotten what it was, beings, orbitally rearranged beings, so they can change their appearance, how they are, how big, how small they are. It's interesting, but start looking at all of the witness statements that you see, and there's something in this. They say, oh, they just walked into a tree, stepped into a tree, disappeared. Well, you try it. You just try walking into a tree, you're going to get a sore head. We don't have that ability, so there's something about that, and that turns up numerous times. I just get the odd footstep in the ground, footprint in the ground. They don't lead anywhere, go anywhere. They're just the odd one. What are they doing? Hopping? They're just hopping here, hop there, hop the other way. Other people say they'll follow these big, hefty footprints, clearly from something that's a 500 pound plus, in the ground, and they just stop. Where do they go? You know, so there's so much more to this, and I think most of us that are here, if you're watching this channel, you've already got there. You've already accepting that. But there are a lot of people who just will not have it. These must be 1,000-pound creatures that can't do anything but appear and be there. I think they're in for a surprise. I think we have to accept that there's something far more to it, and most of us that are on this channel, that watch on this channel, you've already got there, you've already worked that one out. So this thing about portals opening, a large portal opening, and out steps a creature like never ever seen before. Now that's happened a lot at the Sherman farm at Skinwalker, and it's reported at this Bradshaw's farm as well. So there's something going on. So Bradshaw's farm is in Sedona, Arizona. So I'm thinking of what the ground type is, what's contained within the ground. Is there something like natural nuclear energies or something of that nature? And what would be in the ground? It's similar ground. It's red sandstone, red rock, and full of quartz, absolutely full of quartz. And I guess it's gold country as well. You find all sorts of semi-precious and very precious stones if you know where to look. Maybe aquamarines. I think you get aquamarines in Arizona. But they'd found that the ground, some of the rocks were sparkling, beautifully sparkling. But what is it that's attractive about those areas? Utah, Arizona. What is it that is so attractive? And these are not the only places where activity has been found and discovered. We've had it in the UK, the Rendlesham incident, which they just rubbished everybody that witnessed that. They were all lunatics, clearly talking out of their backside, had no idea what they're saying, obviously inventing fairy tales. But yeah, it seems that the stories they were telling absolutely corroborate with Roswell and all of the other stories of witnessing craft and beings. So they can't all be wrong, they can't all be liars with vivid imagination. There must be something to it. We wouldn't be sitting here talking about it still 50, I don't know, 60 years later. I don't know how long ago it was, before my time, being that I'm only 22. So that was one of these things. Another thing was, how do we know that Bigfoot is Bigfoot? Because I have a feeling that some Bigfoot, I have spoken with Athenian about this, some Bigfoot, the ones that have the ability to disappear, as it were, might not necessarily be the Bigfoot that we know. They might be something off-planet that inhabits their body, and they need to inhabit a big body of that nature, like these big creatures, because otherwise they'd be hunted and shot till extinct, and they'd never be able to complete their task, or whatever their particular job is. So it was just a thought. I'm wondering if that's the case there as well. If all animals that we see and all Bigfoot are absolutely Bigfoot, or if their bodies are inhabited by somebody else, another being. Not necessarily, I mean, people always assume that there's evil and there's bad. I think you just need to chill your bean a bit. They're much bigger than us. They frighten us, but you just need to chill your bean a bit. So there was that thought. So also with human beings, the people we see around us, people who are our friends, people even on this channel, are they really who they say they are? How do we know that they haven't come down from a little spacecraft and are pretending to be human beings? How do we know? We just don't. We don't. There's so much out there. I mean, it's asking questions that you might think as, what the heck? This is really super weird. Well, it is super weird. There is nothing about Bigfoot that is normal. Nothing that you can say, well, that usually happens, that's a normal thing to occur. There is nothing about it that's normal. if it was, it would have been discovered long time ago. And if it was normal, if everything regarding it was normal, the government would still own Skinwalker Ranch. But they couldn't get anywhere with it. They don't own it. It's private. So, it's very interesting. And if any of you have any thoughts or any comments or any ideas, don't be shy about it. Put it down in the comments below. If you don't want to put your name publicly and they want to say it, well, just email me. Just email me. My email address is in the About column. Just email me and we'll have a private discussion about it. But I think there's many of you who have long ago woken up to the fact that nothing is as it seems regarding Bigfoot. So with that, I'm going to tootle off back that way and get some work done, I suppose. Bye for now.